Hey guys, I've got a treat for you. So if you're into true crime, obviously you'll know who Michael Franzese is. Michael Franzese is doing a tour around England and Ireland. He's coming to Belfast. I'm going. If you want to go see him in your local area or somewhere that's local to you or close to you, then check out the link in the description. It will take you over. You can buy a ticket. The ticket's like between 45 and 55 pounds. Think about what you would spend that money on anyway. At least you're going to get something from this. You can go see him. You can see him live. You can hear him speak. Shaun Attwood is going to be there. I'm going to be at the one in Belfast at the Balmoral Hotel. So if you want to go see Shaun and Michael, then click the link in the description. Unfortunately, if you can't click the link in the description because YouTube has taken my ability away to post links in the description, then I will leave the website in the description where you can head over, you can buy your ticket, and you can go and see these guys. This is going to be fantastic. If you're a true crime buff, do not miss this. I am going to be going to the one in Belfast. So, yeah, guys, if you're into that type of stuff, check out the website in the description. If there's a link in the description, it'll take you straight over to the website where you can buy a ticket. I'm going to the one in Belfast, and I hope to see you there. Right, people, welcome back to the channel. So we're going to go through a few points today. We're going to be talking about, is Jeffrey Epstein still alive? There is a lady, I think you call her Megan Kelly, came out with a crazy statement. That's the first thing. I actually didn't have that plan to talk about that today, but I will, because it's very, very important with the whole Epstein thing, because she is an investigative journalist, I believe, who knows a lot about the situation. We're going to talk about Joe Biden and the migrants in America. There's things that's happening over there that's very relevant to hear, because it's not a coincidence that we're having the same issues as the Americans. It's not a coincidence. There's a reason for that, and I have to speak about that in code. As I say, if you want my full uncensored opinion about everything, go follow me on X, guys, and Rumble. X is at Holden Official too, all lowercase. Find the relevant handle in the description. You can get my uncensored opinion. I'm really limited to what I can say here. Actually, I'm going to put my channel, Serial Killing Minds channel. That's going to be my backup channel in the description of this video. So if this channel goes down, I'll have that other channel there so I can post on that. So head over there and subscribe and hit the notification bell on that, and follow me on X at Holden Official too for my complete uncensored opinions. Then we're going to talk about the Prince Andrew petition. I want to speak a little bit too about Israel-Palestine and Jeffrey Epstein's 35 million donation to Harvard. So they're the things we're going to be speaking about today. And yeah, so before we start off, guys, remember to smash the like button, subscribe, and hit that notification bell if you haven't already. And look, obviously these topics aren't promoted on this channel unless you've got big reach. I don't have big reach. I've only got coming up to 8,000 subscribers. So if you can share, that would be fantastic. Just share, send to your friend, make a little social media post, whatever you want. If you can, that would be great. I know I do get a lot of shares right enough. So, thank you for the people that do that. And yeah, go follow me on social media. I've got free speech platforms in the description. There is Rumble, Twitter. Like, Twitter's changed. Elon Musk owns Twitter. And you can really speak about anything there. And Rumble, all these videos go out in Rumble. And if you're watching this on TikTok, and you want to watch the full length video, head over to either my Rumble or my YouTube. My YouTube handle is at Holden Official 1, all lowercase. Just use the little handle on the screen. So let's get into this now. This is important topics that I think that yous should know about. And there is a few news organizations covering this, but what's really strange to see, and just on a little side note, which is really interesting to see, is the right-wing media is really not wanting to dive too deep into the Jeffrey Epstein thing. And the reason for that is, and you just need to know this, is the Mossad links. And you're seeing a lot of right-wing people now sort of linked in with Israel, and they're very pro-Israeli. And I say to everybody, look, there's no such thing as right-wing or left-wing, right? There's only good and evil. So you need to know that. And we're not stupid here. We can look at the situation in Palestine for what it is and go, right, well, hold on. What yous are doing to the Palestinians is terrible. I know there's going to be people here pro-Israel. That's fine. Be pro-Israel. I'm pro-Israel. I'm pro-Palestine. I'm pro-life. Do you know what I mean? I'm not anti-life. And it doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure out that Hamas is a terrorist organization, but also what the Israelis have been doing to the Palestinians for the past 75 years is nothing short of a you know what, begins with a G, and they're trying to kick them out, and that is what that is. So, but listen, that's not an excuse for Hamas. What Hamas done, that is not an excuse, because they are a terrorist organization, and that's the standpoint you need to be taken. Totally 100% bang smack down the middle. Don't affiliate yourself with any side. If you do that, you have now become a problem, a problem in the system. You became a part of the system. Never be a part of the system. Always go against the grain, and know that there's that side, and there's the truth down the middle. And the truth, I'll say this: I went to see Jordan Peterson speak, and he says the biggest adventure you could take is telling the truth, because that's going to lead you down paths that you could never imagine. And I understand that now. Once you tell the truth in a situation, it's the greatest adventure of all. So let's get into this now. I'll share the screen. We're going to talk about Jeffrey Epstein. Is he still alive? By the way, listen, if anybody, see this wee pad here, cost me like 350 quid. Comes with a stylus if you want one. It really helps my life. I can write all my notes down. I don't need paper or anything. So we're going to get into this now. Just let me set this over here. And, what is your opinions on this, guys? Jeffrey Epstein still alive? Is it possible? I'm just asking a question. And by the way, a disclaimer. So what you're about to listen to is not factually correct. This is for entertainment purposes only. If you want factually correct information, go to the BBC or CNN or any other mainstream media news outlets. Do not take what I say as factually correct. Everything I'm about to say exists in GTA 6 and Minecraft. This is all a parody. This is all for satire. This is all for comedic purposes and for entertainment purposes. Never take what I say as the truth. And yeah, make sure that you're vaccinated. Make sure that you're following woke culture. Make sure that you're doing your part for climate change. Make sure that you're following Greta Thunberg. And make sure you're supporting your local socialist or communist people in your community and all those things. So there you go. There's a bit of a disclaimer. Don't listen to me. This is for entertainment purposes only. Now, so there was a woman called Megyn Kelly. Megyn Kelly says, "World may soon hear from Jeffrey Epstein directly. We're not done." So I've got an opinion on this here, right? On what I think this means. And I need to check something before I do this, because I always never plug in my mic, and then halfway through I realize my mic isn't plugged in. So Megyn Kelly is an interesting person. I don't know if she's a whack job like myself, or if it's some substance behind it, because for quite some time, I've been receiving information that Jeffrey Epstein maybe is still floating about in the metaverse somewhere. I'll word it like that. I can't tell you how I know, but I can tell you for a fact we're going to hear a lot more about Jeffrey Epstein in the coming year, Megyn Kelly said. Right? Okay, which means there could be more information released about him. Megyn Kelly has suggested that people may soon hear from late Speedo Jeffrey Epstein directly amid the disclosure of hundreds of pages of documents related to him. On the Megyn Kelly show, she said, "We're not done with Jeffrey Epstein. I can tell you that for a fact. I can tell you how I know, but I can't tell you for a fact But I can tell you for a fact we're going to hear a lot more about Jeffrey Epstein in the coming year, and you may be even hearing from him directly. More on that as I'm allowed to tell you." So I've got an opinion on that, right? Let me just read on here. Talking about the testimony of victims who said Epstein told her Bill Clinton likes him young, Kelly said, "It's shocking, but not surprising. Like I've said, we've seen this history of his for a long time. For a long, long time, sorry. The video has left people wondering what Kelly might have suggested when she said the world will hear from Epstein directly. Now, is this the video? Because I will play this video. It is the video. I will play this video.
And we're not done with Jeffrey Epstein. I can tell you that for a fact. Can't tell you how I know, but I can tell you for a fact we're going to hear a lot more about Jeffrey Epstein in the coming year. And you may be even hearing from him directly. More on that as I'm allowed to tell you.
See, let me give my opinion on that, right? So let me just take us away for 2 seconds. So what she could mean by that is obviously she could mean that he could be still alive and he's going to make a video and say, ha ha ha, listen, I'm actually an agent and I've infiltrated Speedo rings to take them down. And I'm not actually a Speedo myself. And everything you've heard has been fabricated. So I keep my alias. That would be absolutely crazy, right? But what I actually think she means by that is that it goes without saying that Jeffrey Epstein would have recorded himself with certain messages and certain maybe propaganda. And I was told there about a year ago that there was video footage that the FBI and the CIA and certain intelligence agencies had that don't have to be released, but they can be released because it's like a keep safe. So if something really bad happens, they're going to release these videos because it will totally whitewash over a situation. And I, personally, myself, whenever I heard that, I thought that maybe he was forced to make these videos, sort of like as a part of a secret plea deal that could, well, if you make these videos and sort of uh, tell people that other people are innocent, sort of like a backup. I heard that these videos were made. I'm not saying that's true. Don't take that as credible information. I'm not saying that's true. So she could mean something like a video. He's still dead, but a video that's in the hands, or a selection of videos that's in the hands of people. Or it could be that he's still alive and she knows this. Or she's just a whack job like myself. Do you know what I mean? Could be just a whack job like myself. And you shouldn't listen to her. So yeah, it's crazy to think that he possibly could still be alive. I don't think so. But if you listen to the Tucker Carlson interview with his brother, man, let's go listen to that. Like, go listen to that. I will share that on my X if you want to watch that whole thing. As I say, X is 100% freedom of speech, so there's no censorship on that platform, formerly known as Twitter. I'll share that so you guys can go watch that. Big up to Tucker Carlson for doing that. Love him or hate him, at least he's bringing you the content and bringing you the information that you should know. So head over to my X now, and you can see that and watch that, what I've shared. But yeah, what do you think about that? Still alive? Not alive? Is it a video maybe that they've held in the background that you're going to hear from? Possibly that will break the internet. If that happens, regardless, any situation will break the internet. Obviously, if he's still alive, that will annihilate the internet. But if there's a video, sorry, if there's a video, it will break the internet. Where he's like saying, look, none of these people are speedos and grapists, and the island was for platonic reasons, and I'm set up, and maybe there is maybe there's a pre-recorded video he made knowing that he might have to de-life himself, and it's like a farewell video to Ghislaine and his friends. These people are narcissistic sociopaths, so nothing surprises me. So what is the next thing? We're going to be talking about a few things. So there's a few things I want to be speaking about today. So yeah, so Joe Biden and there's a reason why I want to speak about Joe Biden and the migrants. I'll speak about that after. So I want to speak about here about a petition. Just let me get this up on the screen. So Prince Andrew petition. Prince Andrew petition, right? Here we go. Remove the title Earl from Prince Andrew. When was this posted? So this has been posted on X, I believe. So I'll share this now, and you can see this. So a petition calling for Prince Andrew to be stripped of his Earl of Inverness title has passed 10,000 signatures. And I do believe it needs to get 100,000 signatures. And the fact that this was trending on Twitter is an indication that it's possibly sitting at 50,000 signatures now. I can see Armageddon is trending there. That's crazy. But I want to give you my opinion. So, like, if you think about Andrew, right? If you think about this geezer, he went on TV and laughed at the public. He laughed at the public. He said that he couldn't sweat. Well, I couldn't have done that. And she's lying about that situation because I can't sweat. And he laughed. He actually said that. And the thing about it is, what you need to know about Prince Andrew. Everything that man has ever done has been documented since he's been born. So he can't go anywhere without the documentation. He can't go to a certain area or meet somebody without them being vetted or verified. So what does that tell us? Well, the Secret Service, the British Secret Service, and the guard or whoever guards the royal family would have known who Jeffrey Epstein is. And I don't know if they would have advised against him going to see Epstein after Epstein was convicted of a sexual offense. But he did anyway. So that tells me that the authorities in Britain knew about Jeffrey Epstein and still give Prince Andrew the go-ahead to go over there. Maybe they told him not to, but at the end of the day, he made his own decision. And what you really need to know about this, and if you were wondering how guilty or innocent somebody is, so he is a member of the royal family, right? And if anybody's ever watched that show on Netflix, The Crown, I watched it. I thought it was fantastic. Everything they do is documented. So for Prince Andrew to be so compelled to go over and speak to Jeffrey Epstein for the length of time he did after he was convicted of a sexual offense is an indication that he was compelled to go there for a reason. And the reason being was, have you any information on me? Now, I do believe these two were good friends, and I don't think Epstein was going to sink him. And I think if he was going to be sunk, he would have been sunk by now. Now, not only that, in the interview that he done, where he says that he couldn't sweat, he said that when he was asked after the conviction of Jeffrey Epstein, you still invited them to come over to some event. To which he replied, I didn't invite Epstein, I invited Ghislaine Maxwell. Well, Ghislaine Maxwell she was being convicted. Do you know this? She is possibly a ringleader in all of this. If you know who her father is, if you know how deep that goes. I don't really speak about that too much for a reason, because there's a trend on YouTube of channels just disappearing when they speak about that. But think about that. He tried to pawn us off again. And then he says, well, look, it wasn't a thing that we spoke about. It wasn't a thing I spoke about with Jeffrey. I didn't really know too much about it. You don't need to know too much. You know that a billionaire friend of yours got convicted of a sexual offense. Even having $1 billion in the bank couldn't stop that man from being convicted, even though he had the police in his back pocket. So it must have been, as logic would put in, and a lot of people say Andrew doesn't have any logic, but he does have logic, and he knew what the crack was. He knew what was going on, and just damaged limitation. Now, what you're going to see from Andrew is when it comes to getting his title taken away, I fully agree with that. This guy is pompous. This guy is, at the very, very least, negligent to doing his due diligence, which he should have done. At the very most, he is what people say he is. I have to be very careful what I say. And I could see King Charles, just discarding him right now. So he might keep his title, but he'll not have any royal duties for a very, very long time. I don't really care about the royal family. To be honest with you, obviously I'm an Irish nationalist. I respect England. I respect the English people. I respect their monarchy. I respect all of that. I've been raised with respect. Do you know what I mean? So that's who I am. But there definitely is a systematic problem in the royal family where they are connected to seedy people. You just have to look at Mountbatten and Jimmy Savile. You just have to look at Jimmy Savile in the royal family itself being like the wedding counselor. Don't quote me on that, of Prince Charles at the time and Princess Diana. So there is connections to very, very seedy people with the royal family, and I 100% support him getting stripped of his title. He deserves that. And just on that note, like, Prince Harry gets a lot of stick. Prince Harry doesn't know how to be in life. You know, he's got a lot of stick from the media. Okay, his missus is a bit cuckoo, woke, and all this here, and he comes across as a beta male. But let's face it, if your mother died and then you were made to walk behind the hearse like a couple of days later and put on a smile for the crowd, how would you feel about that family that made you do that? So say what you want about Prince Harry. I sort of stayed away from scrutinizing him, do you know what I mean, and going in on him. But it is what it is. I respect everybody's opinion, and that is my opinion on that. He should have his title taken away ASAP. 100%. I agree with that. So the next thing we're going for here is we'll go for Israel Palestine, right? So we'll talk about Israel Palestine. So I really need to state this, right? I am not a supporter of Hamas. I'm not a supporter of any terrorist organization, but I am a supporter of freedom fighting. My country went through terrible, tyrannical, a terrible tyrannical time when it came to the Brits, right? Now, a lot of the British people look back at that and they go, well, we didn't support that, Ronan. And I know you didn't. That wasn't you. Especially the north of England, Liverpool, Newcastle, Manchester. No, you know, even though a lot of the boys could have been squatties, these were still 100% fine. You know, there's a lot of squatties that came over here that were fine, and there's a lot of squatties that came over here and done terrible things. Just like on my side, a lot of terrible things happened. So I understand freedom fighting, and I understand tyrannical systems, and I understand feeling not home in your own home. I remember walking down the street and cops stopping me for no reason, knowing that I was a Catholic, and asking me where I was from. Completely unjust, by the way. And me saying that, you know, I'm Irish and from Ireland. He's saying, why don't you go back to fucking Ireland then? Do you know what I mean? So this is what you're dealing with, and regardless of what anybody says, this is still Northern Ireland. Ireland's in the name. You know, the clue is in the fucking title here. Like, you know, this isn't rocket science. You know what you're dealing with here is when you're dealing with a tyrannical system that wants to occupy, right? And Jordan Peterson came to the north here and spoke about this, and he shouldn't have, because he started talking about paramilitary groups as if he knew what he was talking about, and he had no clue. Because sometimes a paramilitary is needed because the military of the country, or the occupied the people who come in and occupy that country, their military is tyrannical. So hence you need a paramilitary. Let's get our linguistic skills ready here. Like, you need a paramilitary because the people need to stand up and fight for that country. There is real social justice, not just, we're not going to fight though for somebody's gender. That's the difference. We're going to fight for our rights, the civil rights of the Irish people, because at one stage in Ireland, Catholics had no civil rights. We were seen as second-class citizens. My grandmother was spat out on the street for being an Irish woman in Ireland, even though she still had respect for the British and the British monarchy. My great-grandfather lived in London for 30 years, and he respected Britain. So this doesn't come from a level of disrespect. So whenever I see a situation like Israel Palestine, I look at it for what it is. Palestine is an ancient place. I do believe the Palestinians were there way before Israel. If you look at the ancient maps, could be wrong. Don't quote me on that, right? I don't want to get into the geography of things. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong about that, but I'm near enough sure about that. So if you want to go get down to the nitty gritty here, what is happening for the past 75 years after World War II? Who gave the British the right to allow those people to go in there and occupy that place? And then for 75 years, there was a tyrannical force pushing those Palestinian people out. And I'm taking religion out of this. This hasn't got anything to do with Islam or Christianity. I'm a Christian. I'm looking at this. This is a holy war, and Judaism. It's wrong. We can look at what Hamas done in Israel, and we could say that is a terrorist attack. The 100% a terrorist attack. There's no denying that. But I can say for the past 75 years, Palestine has been an open prison And that is also terrorism. So what you're dealing with here is two evils. And I don't support Zionism, and I don't support radical Islam either. And both of these people need to get their act together. North Gaza does not exist anymore. They're driving over young people that are in the ground. Schools, hospitals, and some people will say, well, Hamas is using that as like a stronghold. Okay. Does that still give you the right to do that to children? The average age in Palestine is 19 years of age. Those poor children. You're creating more shit. Once again, America and the West creating more shit. Then you have people like here, Donald Trump, who's supposed to be anti-war, saying they need to eradicate Hamas. I understand. I've listened and I know. I've listened to the Tim Kennedys, and I've listened to the Zionists, and I've listened to the Islamists, and I've listened. But this is now coming from a Christian point of view. I'm Christian. And I'm telling you now, what's happening in the Middle East is a holy war, and it needs to stop, because if it doesn't stop, that's going to spiral out of control, way worse than Russia, Ukraine, Taiwan, China, or anything in Africa, because that is the holy war. That is the Holy Land. And what I'm led to believe is that Israel have actually decimated historical sites in Palestine. Why are you doing that? I understand that what happened in Israel at that time was terrible. It was disgusting. It shouldn't have happened. But here's the reason for it, right? Hamas was elected in 2006, I believe. Forgive me if I get the time frame wrong. Why did the Palestinians elect in Hamas? Well, if you, for instance, take Ireland. We'll talk about Ireland. The Irish people didn't have anybody to fight for them. Who did fight for them? The IRA. Now, there was two sections of the IRA, the old and the provisional. Now, one was more lethal than the other, but they weren't. The difference between the IRA and Hamas is armed with a dangerous Islamic ideology, which I completely disagree with. The IRA weren't. Maybe a bit commie, but they weren't there to take over. They were there to fight for the rights of the Irish people, right? And the fight they did. Now, when you're dealing with Hamas, they're armed with a dangerous ideology. So that's the difference between the IRA and Hamas. So they just don't want to stop at Israel. They want to take over everything. And I will call a spade here. These radical Islamic countries, if Britain is that bad, why are they fleeing these radical Islamic countries and coming to Britain and Ireland? If they're that good and you like Shahira law, whatever you call it, then why don't you just stay there? That's a separate thing I want to speak about too. But what happened in Israel was a terrorist attack. But we cannot take away the fact that what's been happening in Palestine for the past 75 years is also a form of terrorism. Whenever you bleed, whenever you have an open prison and you bleed it dry, there's a reason why. Right, let's call a spade here. There's a reason why Israelis can't leave Israel into the Palestine without being attacked, because it's a shithole. I know people that have been there. It's a shithole. I get that. But why is it a shithole? A shithole isn't just a shithole because of the people, everybody's human. If you look at Israel and you look at Palestine, Palestine is a wasteland. Anyway, Israel was lush green land because they had so much money pumped into it, because they had the backing of the West. But if you look back in history, local history, after World War II, the Palestinians were given, the Israelis were given that land. They say, well, we've had that land for thousands of years. Fuck you. We're talking about, look, I could go back and say, I've got Egyptian blood in me, so I own part of Egypt. I can occupy Egypt. Come on, man. Catch a grip of yourself, right? In the modern age, the Palestinians have been bred out of it. People have came over from America. They've kicked Palestinians out of their home. And the Palestinian people elected Hamas thinking that this was going to be a great democracy and they were going to have an army behind them. And what did Hamas do? They abolished democracy because they are a tyrannical force. So you're dealing with two evils, and you've got Jews and Muslims and Christians in the middle of this. Good Jewish people, good Christians, and good Muslims in the middle of this that are dying unnecessarily. And what you need to do, you need to pull your head from your ass, stop siding with a certain side, and understand that. Understand that. The problems we're having here in Ireland and Britain are completely separate to what's happening over there. So people are looking at that and going, well, I don't like the culture over here from Islam, so I don't support the Palestinians because they're backed by Hamas. That's a wrong way to look at it. They are human beings being destroyed at the minute. And that's what's happening, whether you like it or not. That hurts your feelings. Maybe you're pro-Israel and you think, oh, well, that's what's happening. And you need to be on the right side of history here, not the wrong side of history, and stop being washed up into propaganda. That's it. I'm pro-Israel. I'm pro-Palestine. But guess what? I'm not pro-Hamas. I'm not pro-Hamas. There's other ways they could have done that. What they done in Israel that day was a clear attack. And how were they supposed to even? And let's not forget about Iran here. The Iranians. Do you think Hamas cares about the Palestinian people? They're backed by Iran. They're getting money from Iran. They're pushing for World War III. And you better bet your bottom dollar China's involved in this, pushing this, maybe funding, sub-funding Iran, which is then getting filtered into Hamas. They're pushing for World War III. They want to see the destruction of the West, and there's many ways they can do it. So that's my opinion on it. I'll speak a little bit more about that in regards to Israel Palestine. There's a lot of situations like Netanyahu. He was going to get thrown out prior to this, and now his ratings are up. So there's many of an incentive for this situation to happen. So what's the next thing on the list? So Jeffrey Epstein's 35 million donation to Harvard. Now, whenever I heard this here, I couldn't believe it. So here we go. So we'll have Epstein's 35 million gift to Harvard's celeb factory. Epstein's 35 million donation to Harvard's Hasty Pudding Institute, launchpad for stars, ignites fresh scandal. 2014 contributions was a rare donation for Epstein's charity, which usually focused on funding the sciences. The group also hosts an annual Women and Men of the Year Awards, honoring major celebrities like Tom Cruise photographed accepting the award. Was this donation his in to Hollywood elites? A few known Hasty Pudding albums: Matt Damon, Natalie Portman, Colin Jost, SNL, BJ Novak, The Office. Right. So we need to talk about Jeffrey Epstein and Harvard once again. So let's talk about this, right? We covered Jeffrey Epstein and Harvard, right? And Epstein and Harvard go hand in hand, because what he was doing is he understood. You see, people, for the normal predators, they go for kids that are maybe don't come from good homes. Epstein is the different type of a cat. So everything about him was the rush. What could he get away with? He also loved what he done whenever he worked for the intelligence agencies. He loved what he done compromising people, because it gave him like a James Bond type feel. Now, if you look at this guy's MO, he would also go for the street level girls, but he also would try to corrupt young girls that were well educated, that went to sort of high up places. Now, if you look at the state of Harvard today, the way it is, it's a shambles. It's, other than Oxford, it's the most prestigious school in the world, but it's a shambles. Harvard came into, I think it was the worst school in the whole of the United States for freedom of speech. And that is that isn't a coincidence, with alongside Jeffrey Epstein, giving them money. Epstein was a big Democrat. he supported the Democratic Party. And the Democratic Party aren't Democrats, by the way. They're not democratic in the slightest, especially in America. And you need to understand this, that he seen that as a prime opportunity to get fresh meat, fresh elite meat for him. So he could corrupt young girls that need a few pounds, that need a few dollars, that maybe he knew their dads. And who's going to do anything to Jeffrey Epstein? He had all these people in their back pocket. So he could pay money into the arts, into science, into celebrity things in Harvard. And then he could get access to certain high profile young girls that he could maybe take back to one of his houses or a scholarship, and they would owe him a debt. And I'm sure he done it for platonic reasons too, to help people, but he was also a prolific paedophile, and he's seen that as an opportunity. You could just imagine being that way inclined, being a billionaire and having access to those types of children. When I say children, some of them mightn't even been children. They could have been 19, they could have been 20, but young girls that he could corrupt into sexual acts. That for him was adrenaline. And I know that's why he done what he done there. And plus, once he compromised some of the academics in Harvard, then he could run amok. And that's what it is, basically. So, Jeffrey Epstein, Harvard, why would you even send your kids to Harvard? Why would you spend all that money to send them to Harvard? Why? Look what's going on in Harvard. It's disgusting. Academia is disgusting what they're teaching kids today. It's absolutely disgusting. So that's my opinion on the 35 million to Harvard. Even the Guardian said in 2008 he'd give them 9 million. So there's been a lot of money passed over to Harvard via Jeffrey Epstein. It's crazy. It's absolutely crazy. Let me know your opinion on that there. So what we're going to do now is we're going to head back over to X, and we're going to just see what's trending, basically. Oh, here we go. We've got our boy Don Leclerc. He's talking about The Rock on April 21st, 2023. A $3 billion lawsuit for former female WWE star and ex of Kurt Angle, Tarisha Biggers Raka Khan, against Dwayne The Rock was allowed to move forward for allegedly trying to kidnap her and her children with CPS, the FBI, the National Center of Missing and Exploited Children, Omega, PSI, PHI, Fraternity, and more. So what does that mean? What does that mean? So on April 21st, 2023, a $3 billion lawsuit by former female WWE star and ex of Kurt Angle, Tarisha Biggers Raka Khan, against Dwayne The Rock Johnson was allowed to move forward for allegedly trying to kidnap her and her children with CPS. So if I want to break that down, I don't even know how to react to that. So he felt that the kids were unsafe, so he used the CPS and himself to try to get the kids, but then Dom's trying to say here it was a kidnapping. I don't know. That's crazy. There's a lot of stuff about The Rock. That, that doesn't add up. But that's a wee bit of a reach, I believe. I don't want to. So I Am Andrew Tate is trending. I Am Andrew Tate is trending. Kids in the real world, you can please give me feedback on my edit of Andrew Tate. So there you go. You've got Andrew Tate, Wookie McWookface. Good morning, Twitter. Today's caption competition features Nigel Farage and Andrew Tate. Have fun. I've been looking into the Tate thing. Obviously, Andrew Tate is a narcissist. There's no two ways about that. The guy is a complete narcissist, but most of them are at that level, right? But think about it this way, right? He actually didn't do what they said he done. He didn't do those things. And if you look at the people that went who were at Jeffrey Epstein's island, none of those people have been swatted. None of those people have been arrested. Andrew Tate was arrested on things that he didn't even do because he was speaking out about the Gremlin Greta, the the climate change cartel, the Klaus Schwab. If you see what he talks about on Rumble, that's why they went after him. And it's like, oh, well, you've got all these cars. No, you don't. We have those cars. Oh, you think you're rich? No, you're not. We'll take all your money. Or you think you've got your freedom? No, you don't. We're going to put you in prison. I looked into that case. There's not one woman that made an allegation against him. There is women apparently in England that made an allegation against him that we don't know. We don't even know if they exist. There's no evidence whatsoever, like not even a shred, not even a murmur. And the women that they did cross-examine for Andrew Tate's case, they didn't say he done anything bad. They says, look, he treated me fine. We actually made lots of money. And the judge threw that out and says, no, yous are corrupted. He's manipulating you. We can't take your answer, because they wanted them to say, oh, he is corrupting us and he's manipulating us and he done terrible things to us. They actually came out in defense of Andrew Tate. So there's that. Do you know what I mean? It's crazy what Andrew Tate's went through, but I actually find his Rumble lives very, very enjoyable. I'm not going to lie to you. They're very, very enjoyable. Yeah. Traitor is trending. Who is a traitor? Who is a traitor? Jake Shields. I think there's much to this. Sometimes, well, there's Armageddon. I want to see what Armageddon is. Why it's trending. Armageddon. That's Ricky Gervais's. That's Ricky Gervais's special, isn't it? Armageddon, or is it? Yeah, Ricky Gervais. I actually want to give my opinion on Dave Chappelle and Ricky Gervais, and we'll end it at that. So Dave Chappelle and Ricky Gervais, they both had a special come out at similar times, and Ricky Gervais one was brilliant. I disagree with Ricky Gervais on the existence of God, but listen, we'll agree to disagree on that one. And he basically attacked woke culture. He went after the trans movement, and as the way he set up his jokes, he articulated them and he executed them properly, where anybody could understand what he was trying to do there. Imagine trying to attack comedy. You need to know this, right? If you want to know who runs the world, see who you can't criticize. And it's really strange to see that you've got a certain section of the LGBTQ that you cannot criticize, and if you do, you're considered a certain type of phobic. That's crazy to me. Everything should be criticized and put into comedic value and have comedy read about it. Doesn't matter who it is. Over here, one of the greatest atrocities, the Troubles in the north of Ireland, the conflict with Britain, there's comedians that are Protestant, there's comedians that are Catholic that make jokes about that all the time. We know that they're jokes, and they're there to make a terrible situation better, lighthearted. Now, yeah, there's some jokes that aren't to everybody's tastes, but this is freedom of speech. And when it came to Dave Chappelle, I seen his special, very, very good special. What I liked about Dave Chappelle, though, he started it off where it was very like low key. I was like, this isn't going to be good, and then boom, he went into it. He was like, that's how trans people make me feel, and it's like, wow, this guy is a genius. But he's right. He's right to a certain degree. Why is there a group of people that we cannot criticize and we cannot make jokes about? Even themselves, for the people themselves, why can't they even take the piss out of themselves? There's lots of trans people. I was in a restaurant the other day, and there was a trans person sitting beside me. Normal, fine. But how come, if I'm not saying she would have done this, but if, for instance, if I if she had overheard a joke, if I had been playing Netflix with Dave Chappelle, would there be a chance where she would get greatly offended by that? Probably. But if I was sitting there with a gay man or a lesbian or something like that, somebody like that, would they get greatly offended? Probably not. Probably laugh at it. I used to go to a thing called, I can't say the word, but it begins with T and then bingo. So bingo in Belfast. And I used to go to this place with my missus because it was a gay bar, but I used to go with my missus because there'd be no fights. You can have a drink and you're not worried about anybody coming onto your missus or whatnot. But there used to be a bingo night and it used to be really, really funny. And it used to be people of that stature doing the comedy show and they used to take the piss out of themselves. Now that is gone. They don't take the piss out of themselves because they don't even want to go against their own crowd, because if they do, they will be deemed traitors. So why is that? Why is there such an agenda over that? Why can't I make comedy over that? You make your own mind up. If you want to know who controls you, see who you can't criticize or make comedy about. And it's just very strange to see that that side of the LGBTQ is also linked in with communism. It's linked in with BLM. It's linked in with very heavy political. If you look at George Soros, if you look at, where woke culture actually comes from, aka demonic culture, that's where it's leading from. And that's why you can't criticize it, because you're not criticizing them from the LGBTQ. You're actually criticizing the founders of it, the promoters of it, the funders of it. That's who you're criticizing and making comedy about. And they don't want that. If you want to know who controls you, see who you cannot criticize and see who you cannot make comedy about. And that's how you know who you're controlled by. And people say, well, that side of the LGBTQ, they make up a very small minority. Yeah, that's the even stranger part. You can take the piss out of anybody, apart from that side of the LGBTQ. Think about that. Strange, isn't it? That's what I have for you today. Remember, smash the like button, subscribe, and hit that notification bell. If you're watching this on YouTube, remember just to share, copy link to clipboard, make a little social media post. If you want to go follow me on social media, all those links are in the description. And yeah, guys, that's it. Thank you very much for tuning in. Peace.